Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to another Philippine Edu webinar. And I'm Gary Garcia from the Philippines, and we have our guest, Georgina Dean from Amman, Jordan. But before that, I'd like to welcome everyone for our webinars. And please make sure to join the GEG APAC webinars next on April 17 to 19. We will have a similar thing like this, but that time it will be with other countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, um, Thailand, and other more. There are 10 languages, so it will be in our native language. For Filipinos, it will be in Tagalog, and we also have one in Cebuano. So you may join you may join any of the webinars. Okay, you can also join the English webinars and other language. Okay, and for the Philippines, we have what we call Google Educator Group Philippines. If you're not yet a member of this Facebook group, please look for us, and we will gladly accept you as part of the GEG Educator Group Philippines Facebook group. Okay, so this is the image that we have in Facebook. Okay, now let me give a little intro for our guest speaker for this afternoon. He is a Google for Education certified trainer. Okay, he's been training a lot. She's based in Amman, Jordan, uh, and she is one of the two Google trainer for the month of March. So I am happy to have her here in the Philippine Edu webinar. So please welcome Georgina Dean. Okay, so take it away, Georgina. Good
Thanks so
afternoon.
much,
Thank you for
Gary.
joining us.
And good morning from Amman, Jordan. We're sitting at 9 a.m. this morning. So it's lovely to start my Saturday morning with all of you from the Philippines. And I'd like to thank Gary for having me. It's really nice of him to
Thank you for
recognize
saying
that
yes.
on air. But I actually would like to thank Gary for everything that he's done, because it's thanks to Gary that I have been able to become a Google for Educator group leader in Amman. And our collaboration together has led to many other collaborations around the world. And that's all thanks to Gary. So if you are on
Oh,
Gary's team, you guys are very lucky.
thank you for the kind words. But it's all your work, it's all your energy, your passion for teaching others, for helping other educators. I'm happy for you. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much. So, today I'm really excited to share some tips and tricks for Google Slides with everybody. We're going to basically take a look. I have a little slide deck I'm going to share with you in a second, and we're going to take a look at some examples together and then have some time for questions and answers. So, I'm going to share my screen now. There we go. Thank you, Gary. And I'm also going to take the link and I'm going to drop it in the Q&A for you. So on the YouTube activity, this is the link if you would like to join us in the Google slide presentation. You do have edit access to this presentation. So once you're inside the presentation, do feel free, if you'd like, on the final slide, which is slide number 4, is a Q&A slide. And we'll talk about that in a second as another way that you can engage with your students in Google Slides. So if throughout the presentation you have any questions, you can either drop them in the YouTube link or YouTube chat, sorry, or you can drop it on the last slide of today's presentation. So it is editable. Just take care not to delete any other links that are on the slides. Okay, so let's start with myself. Gary already gave me an awesome introduction. So if you would like to follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, please feel free. My website is currently under construction, which as a result of staying home for coronavirus, I haven't yet completed my updates, but stay tuned in the next few weeks, I hope after the Easter holiday, to have that up and running again. And then if you would also like to follow another GEG group, you can click on the GEG Amman logo in the bottom right, and the registration form is located there. And we also do a Tip Tuesdays, which is linked into the Google Classroom icon, and you're welcome to check that out as well. Okay, so for today, we're taking a look at Google Slides. And something that I really love about G Suite for Education is their ability to have so many different features and options that you can do with each of their G Suite core apps. So it's really nice. Of course, there are loads of amazing, engaging tools and resources out there for educators now that are outside of Google. And because Google is all about growth and partnership and collaboration, they do collaborate with many other companies and sites to be able to app smash. But with G Suite, there's just so much you can do with the core app. So it's really nice to be able to share some tips and tricks with you today for Google Slides. Okay. So with our agenda on the left-hand side, we're going to take a look at Google Slides Q&A. And as you can see, if you click on Google Slides Q&A, it can take you directly to the next slide. So we're going to talk about that in the second point as well, how we can use Google Slides to create interaction throughout the lesson. And the second one that we're going to take a look at is some examples of engaging activities that you can have with your students. So again, that's hyperlinked to slide number 3. And then at the end, we'll take a look to see if anybody has any question and answers, which is another way you can use Google Slides to incorporate and collaborate with your students in the lesson. Okay. So let's get started, and please do drop in the YouTube chat on the right-hand side your name and where you're joining us from so that I'm able to chat with you guys. That'd be wonderful. I'm always looking to meet new education leaders, so thank you for joining us, Marilyn
Regina,
and
yes,
Losminda.
we have some greetings right for you. Losminda,
Oh,
Sir Kevin, Marilyn, thank you for joining us. If you have question, and if you just want to say hi to us, please leave a comment in the comments area of this one. So there you go. So please also leave a question to Georgina's slide deck. Yung link po ay nandun sa comment area. Copy paste nyo lang po sa bagong tab. I-type, punta lang po kayo doon sa last slide para magtanong po kayo. Okay? So Georgina, sorry, I just asked them to go to your link, and then if they have a question, just just put it in the last slide. Okay?
it's such
Go
a
ahead.
beautiful language, Gary. It's so nice to hear you speaking it. Yay.
It's hard to code switch. I don't know. Sometimes if you know, it's hard to do that. Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Georgina.
No, it's okay. Thank you. And good morning, everyone. Hi, Eugenie. Nice to see you this morning. Okay, so let's take a look at Google Slides. What can we do with Google Slides? So first of all, we want to be able to take a Google Slide. So as an educator, you have your lesson set up. It could be a content lesson. It could be a hyper lesson where you've created a hyper Google Slide, and you would like the students to be able to interact with you. As we all know, we have some students in lessons when we're in the real classroom that really have a hard time to ask us questions. Maybe they're a little shy. Maybe they're worried that their question is not good enough question to ask in front of their peers. And there is sometimes that worry. So G Suite for Education and Google Slides specifically developers have come up with this amazing tool where students can ask questions during presentations, either as themselves or anonymously. So we're going to take a look at how we can set that up today. So step number 1, I'm going to go now to the next slide to introduce the Q&A. So on the left-hand side of the icon is a Google Slides Q&A, and if you click on it, it takes you to the Google support file. I'll click on it now, and as you can see, it opens directly into the step-by-step instructions from Google support that tell you how to create what we're going to show you today. So at the end of today's webinar, if you'd like to go away and do that by yourself, the link here is in the Google Slides presentation right here. So you can click on Google Slides Q&A and it will take you to the step-by-step instruction. And over here on the right-hand side, I have linked in a Google Slides a video from YouTube of a student who was presenting to other students, like at the university level. And she talks about her passion for presenting and how she has such a big audience and they're not able to ask questions. So although I'm not going to play the video for you this morning because it's going through my headset, the video is linked there. And if you'd like to watch it on your own time, it is super inspiring and really gives you that idea of why it's so important to provide provide students the opportunity to be able to ask questions anonymously in lessons. So I leave you with that video to watch on your own. And let's get started with how to create this. So at the top right-hand side of your Google avatar, you have a share button. And next to the share button, we have the word present. So that's not new for anybody. And when we click on present, we're able to present to the audience, and it puts us into a full screen mode. So what we need to take a look at now is, how do we turn this into a Q&A question? As you see next to the present button, there is a drop down arrow. And when you click the drop down arrow, you have the option to go into a presenter view, and it says there, present with audience, Q&A, and viewer speaker notes. This is the button you need to click on in order to turn it into the Q&A. So I'm going to click on it now, and it's going to open up another window. And in order to share that window, I'm going to change the view screen for a moment. And I'm going to share the window that is popped now so that you can see what happens. 1 second. Okay, there we go. So now you should be able to see the Google Slides Q&A. This is the window that pops up when you click presenter view. And as you can see, the time is running now, which means that I'm already presenting this slide deck. And it allows you to navigate on the left side as to which slide you would like to go to. So you are the one who is controlling the viewer slide deck. On the right-hand side, we have the audience tools, and it's how we create that whole interactive piece with our students or with our viewers. So on the right-hand side, we have speaker notes, and that's if you've made any notes on the bottom of your Google Slides. And on the left-hand side is the audience tools. So this is the key right here. When you go to audience tools, Google's really awesome again, and it tells you what to do at each part of the step. So what we do is audience Q&A, and I'll just let it run so that you can see what to do. And it says, just click to present and answer all the right questions. So I'm going to click on the button below that says start new. And when I click on Start New, it's going to give me a new slide icon at the top that has the link for the slide deck to share with my students. So what I'm going to do is it's turned on. It's turned off now, so I'll make sure that it's turned on. You see the blue letters for the word on, and then you have a link. Now I'm going to take you back to my original screen, which most of you should see anyway because you're already in my Google Slides, but I'm going to take you back now. Thanks for bearing with me while I change windows here with Gary's.
It's okay, Georgina. I will explain to them that you have two windows in our own language, okay? Pag nag-click
Okay.
po kayo ng, while you're making your screen ready. Okay, so meron pong dalawang window na kapag kinlik niyo yung drop-down arrow sa tabi ng present. Ito po ay para sa inyo, yung guide niyo as a speaker, and then yung makikita sa screen. So, yun po, magkikreate siya ng another window para po meron kayong notes, at the same time, meron kayong automatic link na mabibisita ng audience para makapagtanong po kayo. Go ahead, Georgina, go ahead. Let's present.
Okay, great. So after the first screen where I clicked on to make it interactive, now when I go back to my original slide deck, everybody should see at the top, ask a question with a link. Does everybody see that at the top?
Yes, I think they can clearly see that. So
perfect.
Kindly visit that link by creating a new tab and then type slides.app.goo.gl, and then it's case sensitive, so you can see when you type something, Georgina will demonstrate to us how it will look like on her screen and how she can show you your question together with her slide. Go ahead, Georgina.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you go ahead and type in the slide link, so I'll just drop that in the YouTube in case. So slides.app.goo.gl/7WTGH. So I've just popped that link in the deck for you. And now what you'll be able to do is click on that link, and it's going to open up in this screen for you here. 1 second, did I not type it correct? As Gary said, you have to make sure that it's super case sensitive.
Yeah. So for those who are at home watching us, please type it as it shows. So you can create a new tab or create a new window. You type slides.app.goo.gl /7 small w capital T small g h. Okay. So let me type it too.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to open a new browser to type it as well to make sure. Slides.app.goo.gl 7WTGH. Let's see. Okay, perfect. So I'm in and I'm going to put that over here in this window for everybody to see as well. There we go. So when you type that in, this is the screen that you will actually see on your computer screen. So this is the link that your students will see. So we still have the original. Hi, Mina, thank you so much for sending your question. So this is what students will see. And as you can see, Mina has chosen to share her actual name. Gary's also said hi, and I can see as other students that those are there. Can anybody now please go ahead when they type a question and select actually anonymous so that we can see what it looks like to actually be an anonymous person asking a question as well. So when you're over here in your Google Slides, one second, I'm going to click ask a question and I'm going to say, can you please repeat the last point? And now I can either ask it as myself, as Georgina, or I can click on ask anonymously. And now you see that my avatar has removed. And if I click on submit, it's actually going to make it so that my comments are anonymous. So if you don't want other students to see your question, then on this screen, you can leave it as anonymous. So it's a really nice way for students who don't feel as comfortable or maybe a little more shy with their question, they can ask it in this way. So now, what does that look like from the teacher slide? So now, Gary, if you can just let them know I'm going to change screens again,
Okay.
please.
Okay. Uh-huh.
In your
No.
language, I just wanted, in case they were wondering.
Okay. Kasi meron po dalawang window para po sa nagpe-present at para po doon sa makikita ng audience. Kasi po yung question po natin at yung control para maipakita sa screen yung presenter lang po ang makakakita. So, ngayon po, meron pong dalawang window kaya kailangan lang present ni Georgina yung nakikita ng teacher at yung nakikita ng audience. Okay, go ahead, Georgina.
Great, thanks, Gary. Okay, so there's my screen. So here, again, this is back to the teacher window. And as you can see as the teacher, I can see all of the comments and questions that have come up. So thank you, Carmelito, for posing a question, and Gary and Mina. So now what can I do? If I'm able to scan the questions and I see that I would like to answer that question live for all students, I can push this question to my slide deck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on present here for the anonymous question that was asked. This feature is to engage our students more. And I'm going to click on present. Now, when I click on present, I'm going to switch my screen again, and I'm going to go back to the original slide deck for today's presentation for you to see actually what does that look like. Okay, so here we go. So from our slide deck, now you can see that the question that I have chosen to present is now showing for all students who are watching and viewing the slide deck. So now I can pull that up on the screen and I can say, yes, thank you so much for sharing. Google Slides is absolutely a great feature for students to be able to engage with, and this Q&A feature is awesome. So as you can see, the teacher can take all the questions that are being asked and they can choose which ones to share. It could be that the teacher doesn't necessarily want to put the question on the screen as well. They can just watch it in that other window that I was showing you and they can verbally answer it. The same way that I'm able to scan the YouTube chat, I'm able to scan this Google Slides chat on the side so that I can address the questions as they're coming up. The nice way about this present feature is that other students will be able to benefit from seeing it as well. And we all know our students, right? Students love to have their voices shared on screen, their pictures shown. So this is just another way to celebrate as well as respond to questions. So I'm just going to pause there and I'm going to ask if there's any questions about what I've just shown.
Uh, I'd like to emphasize, Georgina, that this is a good way also of tracking their participation and if they are paying attention in
Yeah.
whatever you're saying in class. Because not everyone looking at you is really focused on what you're saying, but sometimes they are just daydreaming. So this is another way of making sure that they know what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. I love that. So Gary's correct, because especially with online learning right now and distance learning, our students are on the computers quite a lot more as they may be
Yeah.
in the classroom. So I agree with Gary. This is a great way to keep them on their toes and make sure that they're participating. I love that, Gary.
Because sometimes if you are, let's say you're using Google Meet or other platforms, yes, you can see them, their thumbnails facing the camera, but we don't know as teachers if they are really absorbing what you're saying. So maybe they are just looking at something else, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And it's a really great way as well for you to take, as Gary was saying, like for participation, you could also use this tool to take attendance at the beginning
Yeah.
of a lesson. I know that there are many ways, and some people are using Google Forms, some people are using the question tool inside Google Classroom. This is just another way you could do it right before you start your slide deck.
And especially if you're doing a synchronous class, this is a good way to check the attendance and their actual participation in class because they cannot access the link anymore once you turn it off, right?
That's right. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it off. And now as you can see here, we have just the regular slide deck and I'm going to exit out of the presentation mode. And so now you can just see it's just back to a normal Google slide deck. So as soon as I click that present mode off, the link disappears and you all will not be able to ask questions again. So I'm just going to click over here back to show you that now that I've turned that off, remember, we looked at the toggle button for on and off. Now that it's off, students are not able to ask Q&A. So like Gary said, if you're also hosting a Google Meet or a live stream meet, this is another way that you could host your Q&As during the meet that turns it off after. Great point, Gary. Thanks for sharing.
No problem.
Okay, so I'm going to move along. We're almost done the session for today. We have 5-6 minutes left, and I wanted to just share a couple of other resources with you. So when I go back to the top of my slide for the agenda, we can see here number 2 is engaging activities, and you can see that I'm going to go to slide 3. This Google slide in and of itself is an example of how you can do something called a choose your own adventure story, where you embed links of different places that you would like the students to go during their session. So on the bottom right-hand side of this icon on slide 3, we have here a choose your own adventure story, and I have embedded it. So when you click on that, it takes you to a resource here called Choose Your Own Adventure. This slide is not mine. It was created by Dean Bostrom. So the link is there for copyright and common creative. So you can follow them on Twitter. And I've created the link so that it forces you to make a copy in your own Google Drive. So you already have a copy of this. And it's just a template that you can use to be able to create your own choose your adventure story. So as an educator, if you'd like to present your content like that, you could have easily content in your main content window at the top, and then you could have your differentiated exercises on the bottom as an educator. So you could say, if you understood that, please go to option 2, which may link to the next slide. If you need further information or details or instruction on the concept, please go to slide 1, and maybe that's linked to a YouTube activity to help the students reinforce the content for this slide. So it's a really great tool for educators to use. As you can see from my own slide deck today, I am using it in order to take you through the presentation that I'm sharing with you today. And it's also a great tool for teachers to give to their students. So you may have shared an awesome lesson, content lesson, and you can say, right, please use this template and go ahead and make your own adventure story for the different topics. So this is a really great tool that you can use, again, by Dean Bostrom. You can follow them on Twitter, and this template is made by them. So that's the first resource for you. And the second resource that I would like to give you today is, we're going to go to engaging activities, is this book study resource. So this book study resource is a resource that I created. It's not a new resource. I'm sure it's used by many people around the world, but this particular template was made by myself. So if you are doing any kind of content related, for example, it's really good for English, but if you're also studying a different kind of chapter book in another lesson, or you would just like to use it to go through your content. So instead of using a different post inside Google Classroom each week for, right, like let's say we're looking into science and here's some chemistry and here's some physics, biology, etc. You could actually have one slide, right, for your whole unit, and each slide therein is linked to a different place. So let me just show you that. And if you click on the link from this slide, it will give you your own copy. So this is my free takeaway for all of you today from me that you can use to adapt for your own lesson. So how does it work? Basically, what we've done is I've created a slide. I'm just going to move this over so that you can see. I've created a slide, and then what I've done is I've added shapes onto my slide like this, and I've made it a different color. For example, I'll make that a little lighter, and then I've double clicked on it and I've added text. And then what I've done is I've duplicated that slide. I can either click Command or Control and then drag the slide down, actually Option Control, and drag it down, and it duplicates for me. Or I can right click on it and I can click Duplicate, Copy, and then Paste, Command V, or right click paste, and it's going to make a bunch of them. So I've made a lot of these shapes and I've put them along like this inside these boxes. And then what I've done is I've created another shape that you can see here, but what I've done is I've made it transparent. So I'm going to show you that now. I'm going to duplicate this again. I'm going to remove my text, and I'm going to click on Properties here for the paint at the top, and I'm going to click Transparent. I'm also going to remove the line by clicking on the border and making the border transparent as well. And now you can see I have a box that you can't see on the screen. I'm going to layer that over top of the box, and now I can't actually do anything with the box that's underneath, because as you all know, Google Slides is layered. So now what I'm going to do is take my transparent box and I'm going to click on the link button at the top called Insert Link, or I can right click and go to link as well here. Now what I can do is I can either click to another slide presentation. So if I had slides down the left side, I could link it exactly like I've done in this slide deck. On this slide deck, I linked the first agenda item to the next slide so that it takes me directly to the next slide. So in the same sense, I can either choose another slide, or if you have a different slide deck, you can link the slide deck by pasting in a link here. So I'll just take this one, for example. I'll take my share link, copy link, go back here, and I'm going to click here and click apply. Now I see that when I click on this box, it's going to take me to the link that I've asked for it to do. So I wanted to share this with you as a really great way that you can create a single place. It's kind of like what we call a hyper slide or a hyper doc, but because it's Google Slides, it's the hyper slide of giving
That's why I'm
your
supposed to
students.
say it's a hyper slide.
Yes, a hyper
Very
slide.
nice.
So you can create this in order to engage your students, and you can adapt the slide however you like. So please feel free if you'd like to use the template I've given you here today, and you can adapt it as you need, change colors, or you can create your own. So that's a free template for all of you. And then back to our original slide, the last one that I wanted to show you, which is probably the most obvious one, but sometimes we don't always think about it, especially with all this technology. We're thinking of what's the hot new way that we can use that with to engage our students. But the simplest way is just to create a question and answer slide at the end of your lesson in Google Slides. So we're going to go there. I've linked it
Uh,
already to slide 4. Go ahead,
we have
Gary.
a comment coming from Sir Gertrude. I think the Google Slides Q&A is a powerful platform for both teachers and students. Yes, it's very, very true. So thank you, sir, for your comment. And then the highlight of this platform is students' engagement in the discussion. Yes. Thank you so much for your comment, sir.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
wonderful. I'm really glad you find that useful.
Yes.
So,
Okay. Maybe they are shy. They don't want to ask questions.
no, it's okay. Please feel free if you want. This last slide is just basically a Q&A. So I have given everybody who's joining us today edit
Yeah.
access to my presentation, which means that each of you can go in and you can type if you have questions there. And then by the time the teacher or the educator finishes the presentation, on the last slide, you can actually address that as you go. And it's actually how, as a GEG leader, I host my GEG meetings at the end of every month. And I have a slide at the end where other people from the Google team can ask questions there. So that's
Okay.
it, just some fun ways. I'll pass that back to Gary, but please feel free to add any questions if you have any.
Okay. Maybe they can make a copy of that slide so they don't edit that much based on their needs. So please make a copy by clicking File and then make a copy so you get your own copy, and then edit your copy. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So do we have any
it's a
questions?
really good point.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say at the end of the presentation, I actually leave about 5 minutes at the end of my presentations, and then I change the share settings to
Uh-huh.
view only. It's also another good way to make sure that the students didn't go in and add a question and then you weren't actually able to take time to remember to go back and check it. When I offer live stream Hangouts Meet, it's the same thing that I do with a Google slide or with a Google Doc. It's live during the presentation, and then at the end of the lesson, I'm just going to show you. I click on share at the top right, and I'm going to change this. Instead of edit, I'm going to turn it to view only. I'm not going to do that now because I see some people are going to engage in the slide, but just a tip for everybody, if you'd like to run your lesson live like this at the end, again, just go into the share button at the top right, and you can click on edit and you change it to view only. So people can still see the content, but they're not able to actually edit it. Great.
Yeah. That's a good point. Thank you so much for sharing. I think they are just so amazed of your sharing, Mr. Gina. Thank you for very much for being with us today. I believe that they learned a lot. I like I know hyperdocs. Yes, we can also make a hyper slide.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the idea. And thank you for sharing your resources to us. That's how we do it with GEGs. We share, and we would like to inspire and empower other teachers. So, for those who joined us, thank you so much. If you don't have any more question, you may, let's say later on you have a question, just give us a note by leaving a comment, and we'll try to get back to you. Any last words, Mr. Gina?
I see
Okay.
that there's just a question here on the last slide. It says
Okay.
somebody's asked if this will work with a mobile phone. So that is a great question, and it does work. I have tried it on my Apple devices. So for iPad and for iPhone, it does work. For
Yeah.
Android, I haven't tested that yet, but that is a great question and makes
Yeah.
me want to go and test it on Android. I don't know if
Uh,
Gary's tried it or not.
Yes, I tried it because Google Apps, G Suite Tools works in any platform, whether it's iOS, Android, or laptop or desktop. It works in all devices.
That's
Okay.
great. So it is available on G Suite. And we have also a question on the YouTube channel from Stephen. Hi, Stephen. Welcome. Stephen's asking if there are recommended add-ons for slides to drive student engagement. That is a
Oh,
great
there's
question,
plenty.
Stephen. So there are plenty. I will just give a shout out to one because I know Gary's on a time for his webinar series today, but I will give a shout out to one, and I will say that Pear Deck is probably one of my favorite add-ons. It's actually the only one in my trainer domain because I use it so much to train people. But definitely go and add Pear Deck. It turns your slides into interactive where students or participants, they can actually draw on slides. You can do Q&As with multiple choices, and it's absolutely phenomenal. They just released a new feature a couple of months ago as well called the factory cards, card factory. What is it? Flashcard factory. That's it. And so students, if you're learning new vocabulary across the content, they can actually engage and like draw their visual idea of what they think words mean and offer a definition. So it's a great new tool that came out, all available through Pear Deck. So that's my shout out. I don't know if you want to share one too, Gary.
Well, that's my favorite too, so I don't think I
Ah,
can add some more. But we have a message for you. Someone, Sir Kevin, has a message for you. He says, "Thank you so much, Georgina. You're really awesome. We'll be utilizing this one of these days." So thank you. Thank
oh, it's so nice to meet all of you. I look forward to connecting on social media to keep up. If you were able to use any of the tools that we covered today in our presentation, then please do hashtag or share it out on Facebook. We're always looking to collaborate across GEGs and would love to share any information, any tools, any examples of awesome work that you guys have done with your students across the platform. So yeah, please do continue sharing with us.
Okay. Thank you so much for all the viewers. Thank you, Eugenie. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Sir Kevin. Thank you, Ben, and the rest of those who participated and who are still watching. Thank you so much. And I'd like to say thank you personally, Georgina, for saying yes to have this session with you. I'm so happy that you say yes. Okay.
Anything for you, Gary, always. And congratulations to your awesome team.
Congratulations to you too. Thank you so much. So for the rest of the viewers, we still have a lot of sessions lined up for this afternoon and tonight and until the 7th of April. So for now, we say here in Georgina, we say paalam to say goodbye. Paalam.
Oh, it's my new word for today.
Yes,
Paala? Is that
paalam.
correct?
Goodbye is paalam.
Paala.